She came prepared to provoke him, but Barack Obama didn't take the bait. He smiled, waited, and then spoke. In that single moment, calm took center stage and never let go. It began like any other televised debate: polite smiles, warm greetings, and the familiar talk about how good it felt to be there. But that calm didn't last. Everyone watching could sense that something bigger was about to unfold. The stage looked flawless. Bright yet gentle lights cast a golden glow across the table, where Barack Obama and Ivanka Trump sat facing each other. Between them was the moderator, known for keeping order when discussions grew heated. The topic of the evening was leadership in modern America. Simple on the surface, but heavy with meaning. Obama looked exactly as people remembered him. Relaxed posture, a soft smile, eyes steady with patience. He carried a quiet confidence shaped by years of pressure. He didn't need to prove himself. His presence already spoke volumes. Ivanka, by contrast, appeared sharp and assured. Her hair perfectly styled, her tone smooth but intentional. She moved like someone who had rehearsed her words and believed them. For her, this wasn't just another discussion. It was an opportunity to defend her family's image and her father's legacy. The moderator opened with light conversation. Obama chuckled at a joke about how he seemed to age more slowly than most presidents. Ivanka smiled and added that her father often said the job energized him rather than wore him down. It was pleasant, relaxed, the kind of exchange meant to ease the audience before the real conversation began. But beneath the smiles, tension lingered. You could feel it in the pauses, in the way their eyes met just a moment too long. History filled that room. Rivalry, pride, and two very different ideas of what power truly meant. The moderator turned to Obama first, asking about the role of character in leadership. Obama nodded slightly, pausing before answering. His voice was calm but grounded. Character, he said, is what you do when no one is watching. It's how you treat people who can't offer you anything in return. The audience responded with nods and light applause. Ivanka listened carefully, her practiced smile in place, waiting. When it was her turn, the moderator asked how she would describe her father's approach to leadership. Her smile widened. She said her father believed in results. Real leadership, she explained, wasn't about polished speeches or perfect words. It was about bold action, even when others didn't understand. The words lingered, clearly aimed at Obama's measured and thoughtful style. He didn't react. He watched her closely, expression unreadable. The moderator leaned in, sensing the contrast, and asked if she believed leadership meant acting, even at the risk of being misunderstood. Ivanka nodded. Some leaders, she said, talk endlessly about unity instead of actually creating it. Her father didn't wait for consensus before doing what he believed was right. A quiet murmur spread through the audience. The air grew heavier. Her implication was clear. Obama smiled politely and said it was one way to see it, offering nothing more. The moderator laughed awkwardly, trying to lighten the atmosphere, but the tension had already taken hold. Ivanka leaned back, crossing her legs, casting a quick glance at Obama with a smirk that could have meant confidence, challenge, or amusement. She wasn't finished. The next question cut closer. What, the moderator asked, was the biggest difference between her father's leadership and Obama's? Her smile sharpened. She said her father led from the front. He didn't hide behind words. Some people, she added, built legacies through speeches and memoirs, while others built them through action. The shift was immediate. This wasn't just political, it was personal. A soft gasp rippled through the audience as they realized she had taken a direct jab at Obama's post-presidential life, suggesting his achievements were more talk than substance. Obama didn't flinch. He tilted his head slightly, studying her with calm curiosity, as if inviting her to continue. She took his silence as weakness and pressed on. It was easy, she said, to sound wise when you were no longer making the hard decisions. Her father didn't have that comfort. He faced them every day. The room fell completely silent. Even the moderator hesitated. For a moment, it felt like Ivanka had seized control. Her expression said she believed she had. Obama remained still, hands loosely clasped, eyes steady. The silence stretched, longer than expected, the kind that makes a room hold its breath. He didn't respond yet. He simply smiled, calm and knowing, as if he were waiting for the exact moment. It was the kind of smile that suggested patience, not surrender. The audience didn't realize it yet, but that stillness was deliberate. He wasn't ignoring the insult. He was preparing. The tension grew quietly, like a storm forming without thunder. What began as a respectful discussion had become weighted with challenge. Ivanka knew her words had landed. The slight curve of her lips showed confidence mixed with calculation. She wasn't done. The moderator turned back to Obama, asking how he responded to the idea that some leaders only talk about change while others make it happen. Obama took a measured breath. His voice remained steady. Change, he said, doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it happens quietly, in classrooms, hospitals, and small towns. Leadership isn't just about serving those who agree with you. It's about serving those who don't. The audience nodded, but the calm didn't last. Ivanka jumped back in, refusing to let the moment pass. With a tone that sounded respectful but cut sharply beneath, she said words didn't feed families. Results did. Her father, she said, built real things. Businesses, jobs, opportunity. He didn't just inspire hope, he created it. The moderator glanced between them, unsure whether to intervene. Obama remained still, his silence tightening the air even more. Ivanka mistook it for hesitation and pushed harder. She crossed her leg and looked directly at him. Some people, she said, talked about grace, but grace didn't pay the bills. That, she suggested, was why so many felt left behind during his presidency. He spoke beautifully, she said. But where was the real change? The murmurs returned. This wasn't policy anymore. It was personal. She was challenging his legacy and his connection to everyday people. Obama stayed quiet, his expression unreadable. For a brief moment, it almost seemed as if her words had landed too close. Sensing momentum, she continued. It was easy, she said, to look calm when you were no longer in the spotlight. Her father didn't have that privilege. He couldn't just talk about hope. He had to deliver it. Her words were smooth, sharp beneath the surface. She turned to the moderator with a proud smile, as if signaling victory. The moderator laughed nervously and tried to soften the moment, but no one was paying attention. Every eye was on Obama. Still, he waited. He looked thoughtful, almost amused, like a teacher listening as a confident student explained something incorrectly. He shifted slightly, unhurried, allowing the silence to grow heavier. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Ivanka's face. The pause was lasting too long. Her smile began to stiffen, turning into a mask. She wasn't used to silence. She expected quick exchanges, sharp replies. Instead, Obama's quiet made her own words echo back at her. Finally, he leaned forward, his voice low and even. He addressed her directly, saying she was right about one thing. Results do matter. But the question, he added, is what kind of results? A leader can build towers, open offices, and generate profit. But if those results serve only a few, is that leadership or just self-interest dressed as success? Ivanka tried to respond, but he continued. Yes, he said, her father built things. But real leadership isn't about building for yourself. It's about building trust. And that, he added calmly, is something money can't buy. Soft applause moved through the audience. Ivanka's smile faltered. Obama's words were slow and precise, each one cutting cleanly through the noise. Then he paused again, giving her just enough space to think she might recover. She straightened her posture, tilting her head slightly as she answered with practiced calm. With respect, Mr. President, she said, maybe people are tired of moral lectures. They want action. My father acts. That's why people admire him. Obama offered a faint, almost gentle smile. And that's why they fear him too, he replied softly. The air in the room shifted instantly. Ivanka blinked, clearly not expecting that response. Obama's voice wasn't sharp or emotional. It was steady, factual, and that calm made the words land harder. She tried to laugh it off, but her voice sounded thinner than before. I wouldn't call it fear, she said. I'd call it respect. Obama nodded slowly. Sometimes, he said, it's difficult to tell the difference when power becomes the only goal. A murmur moved through the audience, the energy subtly turning in his direction. Ivanka opened her mouth to respond, then hesitated. For the first time, her confidence wavered. She glanced toward the moderator, but he was focused on Obama now, watching closely. Obama didn't push. He leaned back slightly and spoke in a quiet, measured tone. I understand loyalty, he said. I respect family. But when loyalty keeps you from telling the truth, even to those closest to you, that isn't strength. That's surrender. The room fell completely silent. Not the silence of confusion, but of realization. Ivanka's earlier remarks suddenly felt small in comparison. Obama didn't smile or celebrate the moment. He looked at her with calm understanding, as if he wanted clarity, not embarrassment. Her composure cracked. No one said it out loud, but everyone could feel it. The momentum had shifted. The storm she had stirred was now turning back toward her. The studio felt heavy, almost dense. The low hum of the lights filled the space between them. Ivanka had entered the exchange confident and certain, but now the silence stretched longer than she expected. Obama's stillness was unsettling. He wasn't angry. He wasn't defensive. He was patient, and that patience was more unnerving than any raised voice. She adjusted her sleeve, shifting slightly, trying to reclaim the smooth composure she was known for. A faint smile appeared, one meant to signal control, but beneath it, she felt the room slipping away. The moderator cleared his throat, carefully stepping in. Let's bring this back to leadership, he said. You've both talked about strength and results. How do personal values shape those results? Can family influence how a leader makes decisions? Ivanka seized the opening. Her posture straightened and her voice returned with confidence. Of course, family shapes leadership, she said firmly. My father is proof of that. Every decision he makes is for his family and for the country he loves. He's guided by loyalty to his people, to us, and to his beliefs. That's what makes him strong. She glanced at Obama as she spoke, almost daring him to challenge her. He didn't, not yet. She continued, saying it was something she had always admired. He never separated the personal from the political. His family was his foundation, his motivation. The words sounded polished, rehearsed, powerful. She expected approval, maybe even applause. Instead, Obama looked down briefly, as if weighing something carefully. When he looked back up, his eyes met hers with a calm that carried unexpected weight. Family matters, he said softly. It shapes who we are. I understand that. Ivanka smiled, taking it as agreement. Exactly, she said quickly. Family gives purpose to everything we do. Then Obama leaned forward slightly and asked almost casually, Baron is your son? The question wasn't loud or aggressive, but it hit the room like a sudden shock. Ivanka's smile froze. The audience went completely still. Even the moderator seemed unsure of what he'd just heard. The silence that followed was sharp and uncomfortable. Ivanka blinked, confused for a moment, then let out a small, awkward laugh. Excuse me, she said, her voice just a bit higher than before. Obama didn't repeat himself. He simply looked at her, calm and unreadable. She recovered quickly, brushing it aside with practiced ease. No, she said, still smiling, though her tone had thinned. Baron is my brother. Everyone knows that. Obama nodded slightly, the corner of his mouth lifting. Of course, he said quietly. It's just that you speak of family, as though it's a single shield around your father. I was wondering where that shield ends. She tried to respond, but the words caught. A warmth rose in her chest, irritation mixed with confusion. This wasn't where she expected the conversation to go. Trying to regain control, she said that in a family like hers, loyalty was everything. You don't separate who you are from who you love. That's what keeps you strong. Obama smiled again, this time knowingly. I respect loyalty, he said. But when loyalty replaces truth, it becomes something else entirely. The audience murmured softly. Ivanka's expression tightened. I'm not sure what you're suggesting, Mr. President. I'm not suggesting, Obama replied calmly, just observing. He paused, letting the silence do its work. Your father once said something in an interview, he continued, about how close he was to you. Many people found it unusual. I'm sure he meant no harm. Ivanka's face stiffened. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. His tone remained polite, almost respectful, yet the meaning beneath it was unmistakable. He wasn't attacking her. He was illuminating the uncomfortable space between pride and denial, the things whispered but never addressed. She forced another laugh, but it rang hollow. I don't think that's relevant, she said quickly, turning to the moderator. We're here to discuss leadership, not personal remarks taken out of context. Obama nodded gently. Of course, but isn't it interesting how the personal and the political always return, especially when we insist they shouldn't? The line landed harder than any insult, calm on the surface, suffocating beneath it. Ivanka had built her argument on family pride, and Obama had quietly transformed that foundation into a question of boundaries and truth. The room stayed silent. Cameras rolled. Every eye in the audience rested on her, waiting. She took a deep breath. My father loves his family. That's nothing I'll ever apologize for. Obama nodded again. Love is never something to apologize for, he said softly. But sometimes love blinds people, and when that blindness affects a nation, it stops being love. It becomes something else. A long, heavy silence followed. Ivanka looked down briefly, then up again. Her face was composed, but pale. She wanted to respond. She wanted to reclaim the moment, but her voice failed her. Obama leaned back and said nothing more. The question lingered in the air, echoing far beyond its words, and in that silence it became clear to everyone watching. The balance had shifted completely. The quiet that followed felt endless. No one moved. No one spoke. The weight of that single question wrapped itself around every thought in the room. Ivanka felt her heartbeat echo in her chest. The confidence she wore like armor had cracked. She tried to smile, the familiar expression that once smoothed tense moments, but now it looked fragile. Her mind raced, searching for an exit. Harsh interviews, political scandals, endless gossip columns, she had weathered all of it. But this felt different. Obama's words hadn't been cruel. They were worse than cruel. They were quiet. And quiet words, when timed perfectly, had the power to unravel everything. The moderator glanced between them, uncertain, but said nothing. Even he seemed caught in the gravity of the moment. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every flicker that crossed Ivanka's face. Confusion, frustration, and that faint trace of fear that appears when silence takes control. Obama didn't move. He didn't lean forward or retreat. He simply waited. He had learned long ago that silence could do what arguments never could. It revealed truth without adding a single word. The pause stretched on. Each second felt longer than the last. Ivanka opened her mouth once, then closed it again, swallowing hard. The confidence that once carried her voice now felt distant, buried beneath uncertainty. At last, she spoke. She said she believed family gave leaders their purpose, reminding them who they were fighting for. Her voice trembled slightly at the end, and she knew it. So did everyone listening. The steady rhythm she was known for had vanished. Obama nodded gently, acknowledging her effort. Then, in that same quiet tone that drew people closer, he said that purpose was important. But purpose without responsibility could be dangerous. It made people believe they were right simply because they meant well. Ivanka blinked, her expression tightening. She said she didn't think that applied here, trying to find her footing again. Maybe not, Obama replied calmly. But that risk appears when power and family become the same thing. You begin protecting your name more than your nation. The sentence landed heavier than the question before it. There was no anger in it, no accusation, just truth, delivered so plainly it couldn't be ignored. Ivanka's hands tightened in her lap. She wanted to remind him that she had built her own name, her own career, her own achievements. But every response she imagined sounded defensive or rehearsed, and the one thing she couldn't afford was to sound scripted. She forced a smile, but frustration slipped through her voice as she said her father's record spoke for itself. Obama nodded. It does, he said. That's why people are still talking about it. A quiet reaction moved through the audience. A few soft laughs, not mocking, just enough to release the tension. Ivanka didn't laugh. She pressed her lips together, realizing that every defense only shrank her position. Then, unexpectedly, Obama softened. He said being in the spotlight wasn't easy. People expected you to protect those you loved. He understood that. But sometimes loving someone meant having the courage to question them. Something shifted in the room. The words weren't sharp. They were human. They felt like guidance, not an attack. And that made them sting more deeply, because now it wasn't just about her father. It was about her. Her eyes dropped for a brief moment, the first real sign of unease. She searched for something strong to say, something memorable, but every thought felt like sinking deeper into uncertainty. The moderator tried to step in, laughing nervously as he suggested moving to another topic. But before he could redirect, Obama spoke again, calm but firm. He said this was the topic. Leadership wasn't slogans, buildings, or profit. It was the reflection of choices made when no one could stop you. And sometimes, family made those choices harder to see clearly. Ivanka sat still as the words settled over her. The energy she had brought earlier was gone. All she could do was breathe through the silence, knowing that anything she said now would sound like justification. Then came the longest quiet of all. It lasted less than a minute, but it felt endless. No applause, no laughter, no debate, just silence. Uneasy, heavy silence. And in that stillness, something shifted for everyone watching. It was no longer about a single exchange. It was about truth. Obama had done something rare. He had turned an argument into a mirror, and Ivanka, despite all her poise, had no choice but to face her reflection. Finally, she exhaled softly and said that everyone had their own definition of leadership. Obama smiled gently. They do, he replied, but only one stands the test of time. Applause began slowly, then grew, spreading through the room like a wave. Ivanka looked down, then up again, forcing a polite smile as the sound filled the space. She didn't interrupt. She didn't argue. Deep down, she knew that the silence had already said everything. When the applause faded, what remained was a different kind of stillness. Not tense, softer, like the air after a storm. Ivanka sat composed, but the calm felt fragile, rehearsed. The moderator tried to move forward, but the energy had changed. Everyone knew who now held the room. Obama had never raised his voice, never insulted her, never interrupted. Yet somehow, he had taken complete control. Ivanka smiled again, that polished professional smile. She said she believed she had said all she needed to say. She adjusted papers that didn't need adjusting, then stood. The moderator blinked, surprised, asking if she was leaving. She nodded and said she had another engagement, though everyone knew that wasn't true. The truth showed in her stiff shoulders and in a smile that never reached her eyes. She wanted to leave before another question could unravel what remained of her defenses. Obama didn't stop her. He simply nodded in acknowledgement, not triumph. He thanked her calmly for her thoughts. She returned the nod mechanically and walked off stage. The echo of her heels was the only sound for a moment. Each step carried pride, embarrassment, and something deeper. the realization that she had been outmatched, not by force, but by grace. As she disappeared behind the curtain, Obama leaned back and released a quiet breath. The moderator turned to him with relief and commented on the intensity of the exchange. Obama chuckled lightly and said it was just a conversation. Sometimes, he added, conversations reveal more than we expect. The audience laughed, the tension easing, but beneath it was something else. Respect. People sensed they had witnessed something beyond politics. It was about control, composure, and truth. Obama straightened and spoke calmly, saying that people often claim to want truth, but truth makes them uncomfortable, especially when it comes too close to home. The hardest part, he said, isn't hearing it, it's admitting it. The moderator nodded. Obama continued, explaining that leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions, especially the uncomfortable ones. When power is treated like a family inheritance, he said, it stops serving the people and starts protecting itself. That's when nations lose their way. And the truth, he added, always finds a way to bring them back. He didn't name anyone. He didn't need to. The moderator smiled, saying Obama always knew how to end on a powerful note. Obama returned the smile and said he believed words should leave people thinking, not arguing. The applause rose again, louder this time, not for a clever line, but for the truth behind the calm. Backstage, Ivanka stood before a mirror, touching up her makeup with hands that weren't quite steady. Her reflection looked flawless and exhausted. She had faced sharper critics, harsher interviews, but never someone who disarmed her without raising his voice. Obama hadn't trapped her with accusations. He had simply held up a mirror. For the first time in a long while, she had no prepared line, no spin to lean on. The memory of that silence replayed in her mind, refusing to fade. On stage, Obama shook hands with the moderator and thanked the audience. As he walked away, the applause followed him, not wild, but lingering, reflective. Someone backstage congratulated him. He smiled and said it wasn't about winning, it was about clarity. Outside, the night air was cool. Cameras flashed, but he didn't look their way. He remembered something he once told young leaders. If you have to raise your voice to make your point, maybe your point isn't strong enough. That night, he proved it again. Ivanka's silence, her exit, her carefully held smile said everything words couldn't. The debate had ended, but its echo remained. And in that echo, Obama's calm voice lingered, reminding everyone that real power isn't dominance. It's dignity,